Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild, aka MBT, here, I guess, hijacking Cimoooooooo's channel with Cimoooooooo's Round. I am joined by the magnanimous and unfortunately recipient of a very unfortunate Game 1 FTK, Sir Eminon. How are you doing today?
How's it going, everyone? Doing pretty well, and as Joseph mentioned, Cimoooooooo didn't want to cast his own match, so here we are doing it for him. And yeah, this round one of the YugiTuber Grand Championship was very interesting. You know, there was a lot of variance, which, you know, caused some unfortunate gameplay for my match, but we're here to commentate Cimoooooooo's match, which should be interesting in its own right, as I believe the years that were assigned were 2003 versus, what was it, 2014?
Right. Team Kings of Games is on 2014, and Cimoooooooooo has unfortunately been saddled with 2003. If you thought your match was one-sided, you have not seen anything yet. I am not familiar with the 2003 metagame, but I would assume that it's, I don't know, hand control and hand control only?
Yeah, from what I can remember, or at least from what people have told me, this was a time where the ban list wasn't a thing yet. It was just a limited list at the time. So Cimoooooooooo has access to pretty much every card in the pool at the time, and we see Team Kings of Games on Qliphort here for 2014.
So 2014 is about the time that Duelist Alliance was released, one of the most formative sets in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, forever irrevocably changed the way we play Yu-Gi-Oh! And Qliphort was probably the first really good Pendulum deck ever released. Previously, Pendulum monsters were extremely weak and super xenophobic, I think because, you know, an archetype that can summon 5 monsters a turn shouldn't be toyed with lightly. Qliphort is, when it started to hit its sweet spot, largely on the back of this card, Qliphort Scout. It's a normal monster, but while in the Pendulum Zone, can add a Qli card from your deck to your hand, with the exception of Qliphort Scout itself.
And notably for this time period, Qliphort was very predominantly a stun deck, which means that they had access to triple copies of Skill Drain and triple copies of Vanity's Emptiness, I believe. So you're going to see that even though it is a Pendulum deck by its mechanics, just the way it functions in general is to block out the opponent and summon big beat sticks and just win the game that way.
And you'll notice that just about all the Qliphorts have a very specific line of text in their Pendulum Zone. It says, you cannot special summon monsters except Qli monsters. There was a time when Konami was not playing around with Pendulums.
Yeah, they were pretty careful in terms of designing them to, as you mentioned, be pretty xenophobic. And you can see that the game's probably going to start out pretty slowly, but as, you know, the floodgates come down, if there are any, then we will see, you know, just very, very caveman-esque Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is, I guess, a pretty fair matchup considering that Cimoooooooooo is on 2003 here.
Right. So when Qliphort monsters are normal summoned without tributing, as they all can be, or special summoned, their levels become 4 and their attack is greatly diminished. This one has been equipped with Sacrifice, which gives it an additional 300 attack and battle immunity. In terms of first turn setup boards, this is pretty unassuming, but of course where Qliphort shines is the repeatability of the summons of its monsters from the extra deck, and the ability to tribute these monsters for things like Qliphort Stealth. Gonna be a little difficult to do that if your monster's been snatch-stealed, however.
So this will be pretty interesting. I'm interested to see... Oh, the follow-up is going to be a Spirit Reaper, alluding to the hand control that you mentioned. So that could actually be pretty relevant considering how like the pendulums operate in the deck, as well as, you know, the specific floodgates you might be holding on to. And we do see that one of the, I can't remember all their names, you're gonna have to excuse me on this, but Helix was sniped out of the Spirit Reaper here.
Spirit Reaper, of course, an incredibly powerful card. It is a monster that can't be destroyed by battle, which for the time was amazing, but also has the ability, when it inflicts battle damage, to discard a card from your opponent's hand. You know, Qli's power lies in the fact that its resources are endless. They sit in the extra deck for the entirety of the game, but Spirit Reaper is one of the very few ways you can get them out.
So we're going to have to see exactly what happens here. Scout's going to go ahead and trigger again, firing off for another copy of Disc. And notably, all of the Qliphorts also have extra effects when they get tribute summoned. But we're going to see a Storm. This is actually like a classic card for Qliphort back in the day, allowing you to like clear up your scales if you need to, or in this case, clearing a snatch steal to get your monster back.
Unbelievable. Oh, wow. I mean, Duel Links players will remember when people played Storm in very early Duel Links with skills that would give you a free card in the field spell zone just so you could access MST. This has got to be one of the worst cards to ever see competitive play post, like, 2013.
Yeah, and I believe Sacrifice got the search for another copy of Scout here, and I also believe Scout is not a hard once per turn.
It is not.
So
this card was limited for almost 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, just getting continual advantage, like you said. Everything's sitting in the extra deck, ready to be Pendulum summoned, which Team Kings of Games has not yet performed. And we also see the field spell Laser Clip come down, which allows you to normal summon an additional Qli monster per turn, and prevents stuff or summons of Qli monsters from being negated, which would be relevant against things like Solemn Warning. However, this is 2003 that we're playing against, so not going to be quite as relevant here. But Pendulum Summon going to be coming down. And I believe this is Master Rule 3 Pendulum Summoning. So
it is.
Everything
Enjoy.
from the extra deck is coming back.
Oh,
and
wow.
we're going to see a big, beefy board.
So, of course, the Spirit Reaper cannot be destroyed by battle, but you still do take the damage. So we are correcting life points real quick about where Shell is, and then we're taking a whole ton of chunks.
Yeah, it's going to be 2,500 for each one. Oh, no, 1,800 for each one because of the modifier, of course. So.
And just passing back here, completely happy to sit on monsters that are, in effect, vanillas. I mean, what is Spirit Reaper gonna do against Gemini Elf Turbo? Well,
Yeah,
that's something.
So looks like that's the answer. Gonna be Dark Hole.
So Dark Hole is fine, but again, the strength of Qli is the fact that you can do the same play next turn. Kaiku's excellent, but preventing banishing is not that big of a deal if your opponent doesn't intend to send things to the graveyard. Reborning the Qliphort Helix, unfortunately, it's going to be 1,800 because that special summon isn't just pendulum summoning. And getting in for 36, we are dangerously close to lethal.
So this is going to be interesting because all those monsters that were killed by Dark Hole are just going to be pendulum summoned right back. So we're going to have to see what the follow-up ends up being. If there is a way to prevent game, because this is a lot of a damage here.
Wow. That is a sick rip off the top. Now, all of the Qliphorts can be tribute summoned as well, and if they are tributed correctly, they are unaffected by activated effects from monsters whose original level is lower than this one, and get a little bonus effect. So Carriers is it can return one card on the field to the hand, I believe.
And I believe that procs when they are tributed. However, the tribute summon occurred, making Carrier being able to beat over the reborn target, which means that Team Kings of Games is going to swing in for all that damage, and that will be game number 1.
Okay, so I am not surprised by that result, but I don't know what Cimo expects to do going first. You know, if hand control is the name of the game, that's fine. You would think a pendulum deck would need a whole slew of scales in order to get off to the races, but that's only if you're thinking of pendulum in terms of the modern combo decks. Old versions like Qli really just needed to set the scales and summon one card, and then do that every turn for the next 8 or 9.
Forceful Sentry going to be a pretty good start here, getting information on Team Kings of Games' hand, which allows him, of course, to select the most potent threats. And notably, there was, I believe, MST at 1, but also there were 3 copies of Dust Tornado. So that might be coming in from the side deck here if he wants to try and put a halt to scout searches and things of that nature.
So I imagine there's not a scout in the hand. I mean, otherwise, why would you activate the Forceful Sentry and standby? Are we going to see... Was Anti-Spell legal? No. Okay.
Maybe Trap Dust Shoot? I'm not entirely sure, but looks like main phase is good.
Whoa, and Into the Void, the activation here. Oh, boy.
Ooh, alright.
A off the top. Isn't that fantastic? Qliphort Scout the Find, paying 800. And there is the one of Mystical Space Typhoon.
There it is. So, pretty good response here. We're going to see scales come down, and we're just going to pendulum summon anyway, it looks like.
So 1 and 9, not that big of a deal. We get a Helix and a Scout in defense position. Although I think they are rectifying this real quick. going to attack in with Helix, and surprise, surprise, it's the same card it was last game, Spirit Reaper.
Alright, so do you believe that Helix was tribute summoned after Pendulum summoning Scout? That's what it looked like. And a pass from Cimoooooooo, ouch.
This is frightening. So Summoner's Art is a fantastic rip off the top. You can get Qliphort Scout, you can get Qliphort Monolith, which has yet to make an appearance, but either of them will be fine for our purposes, which is performing a huge Pendulum summon and then going into the extra. Volcasaurus, the overlay here. Not important that it destroys, is important that it targets. But Book of Moon will make quick work of that.
Alright, so Spirit Reaper lives to fight another day. However, we do need to find an answer to this Volcasaurus pretty quickly here.
Dark Hole, potentially? I mean, it's so rough to be playing these hugely powerful sweepers, but not be able to get anything for them, as your opponent can just Pendulum Summon afterwards anyway. Kaiku going in on the Volcasaurus.
Yeah, it only has 1,000 defense, so it's pretty good news. However, we're still at a bit of a standoff in terms of the ultimatum of Spirit Reaper just sitting on the board. However, it looks like... I think that was a tribute summon there?
I think we are rectifying this game state real quickly. The Book of Moon reset, the Volcasaurus re-added. I see. So, one thing that it's important to remember is that every Qliphort card has text on it, and summoning monsters that aren't Qlis is strictly forbidden. So, Cimoooooooo will be gifted back this copy of Book of Moon, Volcasaurus will no longer be in play, and the game state has been magically repaired by the power of Dueling Book.
Yeah, pretty... we totally forgot about the restrictions there. Pretty easy to forget, considering how games are nowadays, where decks can kind of just mingle with every other deck in the game. But we're going to see Kaiku just beat over the Helix, and we're going to tribute summon another top-decked Helix there.
Just to Pendulum summon the other two back. Great, fantastic. This is why that text was on Qliphort Pendulums, by the way, to prevent you from converting this into extremely powerful Xyz monsters.
Yep, and we see Kaiku going down here for meaningful damage.
So this is like, obviously seems unbeatable from Team Kings of Games perspective, but I don't even understand how Cimoooooooo would win the game. You know, if you are operating in a format where like Cyberstein exists, maybe you have a scenario where you can claw your way into the game, but how do you deal with a board? How do you assemble lethal? It seems impossible.
You can clear a board as many times as you want, but it's just going to keep coming back turn after turn, and there's just not enough offensive pressure in a 2003 format.
Yeah, Magician of Faith is fine, and seems like it's very difficult for Team Kings of Games to find an answer to the Spirit Reaper, but Cimoooooooo at some point during the game will have to put on offensive pressure, and it is going to have to be before his opponent is able to find a skill drain.
Alright, so just more passing back and forth. This is what we call high-level big brain Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh yeah, oh of course. Mystic Tomato, the Helix target, will get a second one from deck, and of course that is not long for this world either. Going to the graveyard in order to find another Spirit Reaper.
Ooh, another Spirit Reaper, okay.
Ooh, Upstart Goblin, a huge misplay. You don't want to accidentally go down in cards since Cimoooooooo is trying to deck you. Ooh, Qliphort Disc might be the end of the game. This card, if Tribute summoned, can special 2 Qli monsters from your deck. They are destroyed during the end phase, but not that big of a deal because guess where they are going?
Alright, right back to, you know, their shelter, as it were. But looks like we're just going to wall up with all the Spirit Reapers we can get. And, maybe some action here in the Snatch Steal, trying to take advantage of the fact that the disc was Tribute. And we're gonna tribute set.
What on earth could that be? Oh my god, it's a Jinzo. Oh, wow. Well, by 2003 standards, that is a game-winning card. But by 2014 standards, it does almost less than nothing.
And all 11 zones on Team Kings of Games' field are currently occupied with cards, so...
I found the win condition.
We're gonna see which...
Oh, no!
Is this out?
Alright, walking into the Jinzo here, and then passing back. Cimo, have you found the way? Are we going to get to see a Fiber Jar resolve? Oh, that better be it. Mystical Space Typhoon, the set card. It's a Book of Moon. Still going to be difficult to do anything here. You're locked into Qli only. Oh, wow.
Oh, looks like there's no answer. Is there a skill drain? Please let this resolve.
Oh, my God.
No way.
Oh, this is so hype. So, Fiber Jar shuffles every card from your hand, field, and graveyard into the deck, and then causes both players to draw 5 cards. An incredibly, just mind-numbingly frustrating resolution of an effect. This card was banned for a reason.
Oh man, I don't think I've ever seen this card resolve ever, because obviously I was not playing the game at the time, but notably, the pendulum monsters in the extra deck are still lingering there, even from Fiber Jars, so if Team Kings of Games can just reestablish scales, yeah, alright, we'll see.
The good news is, if it's your turn when you flip Fiber Jar, you're in a much better position as the hand control deck. Exactly. From here you can start firing off things like Confiscation and put your opponent down to very few cards. Discarding a Scout, that's great. And a Forceful Sentry, the follow-up. Whoa, let's go. Setting 3 and passing. Those 4 cards had better be scales.
Is this the comeback? Alright, upstart.
Okay, well, Summoner's Art will find Scout, and Scout is scales on its own. Did we draw the Mystical Space Typhoon back? And we did!
Oh my goodness, no way.
Into the Void, the Fire. Of course, you can activate this if it is the 3rd card remaining in your hand. Pot of Duality, going to turn off specials for the remainder of the turn. Sacrifice the ad. Whoa, this is spooky.
Ooh, we are trying to dig.
A Normaled Carrier, we're going to Book of Moon that. Set Helix, set 1, and pass. No scales. We know the set card is a sacrifice. Oh, wow. Could Cimo walk this back?
I really want to... Oh, goodness. All right.
Darkhold Sandgan!
Popping Sandgan!
Oh. Cimo says, I would have had the Yata lock. I'm so mad.
Ouch. All right. So, Mystic Tomato Beatdown is the new strategy here.
Set 1 pass. No scale for Team Kings of Games. I mean, yeah, this is a really great position to be in, but, 1400 attack beats is probably not going to, do it. Whoa, is that Perform Pal Trampolinx?
Ah, the tech to bounce the Scout after Pendulum Summoning. But looks like we're grabbing Galaxy Cyclone?
Yeah, and then firing it on our own sacrifice so that we're able to use its effect to get a copy of Scout to hand. This is, again, a 9 and a 9, so there won't be a Pendulum Summon available, but getting cards with Scout is pretty good in and of itself. And Qliphort Towers. Oh, jeez.
The Apex boss monster, the namesake of, you know, all boss monsters in terms of modern times, and there was no Pendulum Summon last turn, of course, because of Duality. But we will see probably Scout Search and then Galaxy Cyclone to clear his other scales so he can Pendulum Summon and then summon the towers. That's what I would assume is the play.
Cimo walked with it! Not. He couldn't out the 9/9 scale, locked into preventing any special summon being able to summon Qliphort Towers. Wow! I mean, that was pretty impressive. And folks,
very interesting turn of events. I thought for sure he was going to pop his other scale with a Galaxy Cyclone's Graveyard effect, but maybe not.
I guess he just didn't have the remaining scales in hand. You couldn't activate Scout because he was on 800 life points exactly. And Cimo is one Fiber Jar activation away from making it out of this set.
Man, this is super hype. I love Fiber Jar. I can't believe he made it out of that game.
Yeah, me neither. Scout into Disc the start. We're going to set a copy of Carrier and then activate Laser Qli. Summoning a copy of Shell and equipping it with a sacrifice before Tribute summoning a Disc, allowing the special summon of 2 Qlis from deck. And yeah, this is about as good as it gets on your first turn.
Yeah, just summoning a bunch of big beat sticks, as we saw in this series so far, is generally pretty good. And we're going to see a search for towers off the sacrifice there, I believe.
Yeah, and is there a card in 2003 that deals with towers? It's great that it's in the hand this turn, but I think if it's summoned, that's the end of the game.
Yeah, we'll have to see. Well, Graceful's a pretty good start.
Okay, we'll discard a Tomato and a Book of Moon. You know, when you can't discard cards that plus, this card almost seems fair.
Almost being the operative word. But we do see Snatch still coming down, so a lot of the big heavy hitters. I think, if anything, Cimo has to try and hope that Spirit Reaper connects if he happen to draw it.
Looks like he didn't. We're just going straight to battle phase to hit in with Qliphort Disc. Still pretty good. You know, you want to keep Qliphort to a low enough life total that they're not able to repeatably scout. Confiscation, the last card in hand, and...
Oh, that's good. That's very good.
Alright, to the graveyard with Ape of Qliphort Towers. We will worry about that card another day.
Alright, so let's see what the follow-up play is here. Probably going to involve a Pendulum Summon at some point, I would assume.
And a second Ape of Qliphort Towers. Okay, well, oh no. It looks like we are going to have to contend with the big boy anyway. Let's Pendulum Summon, what, 3 monsters and then tribute them all? Oh, a Torrential Tribute!
Oh, but the Torrential Tribute, it says no. Oh, this is pretty good, actually.
Shame that we lost that Magician of Faith, but we won't have to beat Ape of Qliphort Towers. Let's see Spirit Reaper. There he is!
Oh, alright. That's 2 towers down.
How many possible towers can this individual be playing? It can't be 3.
See, the way that you out towers in 2003 is not by outing them once they hit the board. You out them before they get onto the board in the first place.
Exactly. How could I have forgotten? And shell the ad. We are not on 3 copies of towers. Gonna normal the Trample Links, and as you said, reset this copy of Scout, fire it again. Was Ring of Destruction legal at this time?
I can't quite recall. Like, my earliest knowledge is of GOAT format, which is obviously very popular, but that was 2005, not 2003, so...
Wow, you don't even know about 2003 metagaming? Shame.
Yeah, I mean, shame on me for not knowing, but what I do know is that is a very big board
yes.
that Team Kings of Games has assembled here.
So, Ape of Qliphort Shells, or Qliphort Shell, excuse me, it is not a towers. Tribute effect is to get a second attack during the battle phase. Fantastic monster for going for lethal, and it looks like that's what's happening here. The Yada in hand! Oh! Just a little bit too far gone. Yada locking is so strong, except when your opponent can Pendulum Summon every turn. And Team Kings of Games moving on to the next round in what, with the possible exception of my match versus Dazif, was probably the most lopsided match this tournament.
Well, I do have to say that that game 2 was wildly entertaining, and Fiber Jar resolving, winning the game there, could have asked for much more, to be honest.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for jumping on commentary with me. Again, check out Sir Eminon's channel. Additionally, check out the channel of Team Kings of Games, and likely you're already subscribed to Cimo as well. We will see you for, I believe, the next round of the YugiTuber Grand Championship, which will immediately begin after the conclusion of this match. Unfortunately, it will be Cimo-less, but as long as we can bring back Fiber Jar trending on Twitter, I'll be satisfied.